I was born in Salt Lake City, but we didn't live here very long, and I grew up all around the West and mostly settled in Southern California from third grade on. And I was raised in a very active LDS family. I'm number 6 out of 10 children. My parents were doing their best to depopulate the pre-existence. And that was the world that we knew. We lived in this LDS bubble, and I grew up with all of the normal things that you would experience in LDS church life. Boy Scouts and priesthood quorums and church sports and road shows and all the rest. I participated in all those normal things. In fact, it's really the only world that we knew. All of our friends and all of our life revolved around being part of the LDS church. Well, things began to change when I got in high school. At the very end of my senior year, I was supposed to be preparing to go on an LDS mission. Now, in fact, I was ordained to an eldership in the Melchizedek priesthood in preparation. Those days you went when you were 19. And my older brothers had gone on their missions before me, so I knew something about what it was like. And they had gone to places that were challenging, that were difficult. No place that you would go on vacation, let's put it that way. And so I saw that the cost that they had to pay in terms of how challenging and difficult it was. And so that got me thinking about, look, do I own this faith? Do I have a strong enough testimony of this faith that I'm willing to go make that sacrifice, the same thing that I've seen them do? And that got me thinking. I wasn't sure that I believed it strongly enough, or that I was committed to it to go. That began a process of evaluation. And around the same time, at the end of my senior year of high school, I started dating a girl who was not LDS. I thought I could convert her, so I had her seeing the LDS missionaries, but in a tit for tat, since she had me reading some literature that you would have categorized at that time as anti-Mormon. And so I'm learning all kinds of things about the history of the LDS church that had been swept under the rug as far as I was concerned. This was back in the 70s, where there was no internet, and a lot of these things were not as widely known as they are today. And so she had me reading some of this literature, and I found that she had answers for the missionaries, but I didn't really have any answers for the things I was reading. I was totally unprepared for seeing a different side of LDS history and some of the LDS beliefs as we begin to compare beliefs between us. And so what happened is that precipitated for me about a year of real searching, real evaluation. It was the hardest year of my life. But eventually, at the end of that year, I was 19 years old, and I came to a decision that I was not going to participate in the LDS church anymore. I sat down with my dad and explained that to him. He was kind. They were gracious. I didn't find my stuff on the front porch the next morning. They figured it was a phase I was going through, and that I'd find my way back again after I sowed a few wild oats or whatever it might be. But my conviction was not that strong. I didn't have a faith to rely on. Once I rejected Mormonism, it was what you would call an intellectual conversion. It just didn't stack up for me in terms of truth and reality. But I didn't really have something to replace it with. So after about a year and a half or 2 years, now I'm going to college, and I meet a friend in college, someone was a coworker, and I was talking to her about my life, and I somehow said something about being a Christian, and I think she doubted because she could see what my life was like and the lack of conviction and lifestyle and so forth. And so she invited me to come to her church with her one Sunday night. They had Sunday morning and Sunday evening services. I thought, okay, I'll go, we'll see. And I sat up in the balcony about as far as you could get away from the preacher as possible. And he was teaching from the Bible, just word for word, verse for verse from the Bible. And he was teaching from the parable of the 4 soils, or the sower, where Jesus goes out and he sows a seed and it lands on different kinds of hearts. He gets to the 4th soil and he talks about the fruit that God creates in the life of someone who eagerly accepts his word. And he talks about a harvest, 30, 60, and 100-fold. And as I heard about that harvest, and I saw that in juxtaposition to the life I was leading at that time, which was pretty meaningless, pretty pointless, didn't have a lot of purpose and direction to it. And I just, at the depth of my soul, at a place in your soul that's too deep for even forming words in your mind, I said, God, that's what I want. That's what I need. I want you to come and do that in me. And then my life changed from that point on.